I'm writing this because I need to get it out. I need someone else to know what happened to me that night. Maybe it'll help me sleep. Maybe it won't. But keeping it locked inside isn't working anymore. This happened about 3 years ago, when I was still doing electrical contracting work. The pay was decent, the hours were brutal, and sometimes the jobs took us to places that time had forgotten. The warehouse was one of those places. It sat on the edge of an industrial park that had been dying for decades. Cracked asphalt, rusted chain link fences, buildings with windows like empty eye sockets. Our crew had been hired to strip out the old wiring before the demolition company moved in. The building had been a textile mill back in the 70s, then a storage facility, then nothing, just 4 concrete walls holding onto ghosts. There were supposed to be 5 of us on that job. By the second day, it was down to 3 me, Marcus, and a younger guy named Tyler. Everyone else had bailed. Too cold, they said. Too creepy. I remember laughing at that. I needed the money. I wasn't about to walk away because of some bad vibes. The building was massive. 2 floors, maybe 40,000 square feet total. Most of it was wide open space, just support columns every 20 feet or so, and shadows, so many shadows. Our work lights barely made a dent. We'd been there since 6 that morning. By the time the sun started going down, I was running on fumes. My shoulders ached. My hands were stiff. I'd been pulling wire through conduit for hours, breathing in dust that tasted like rust and decay. Around 7, I told Marcus I was taking a break. He nodded, barely looking up from his work. Tyler was somewhere on the far side of the floor, drilling into a junction box. I climbed up to the 2nd level, found a relatively clean spot near one of the loading dock doors, and sat down with my sandwich. The door was open just enough to let in some fresh air. I could see the parking lot below, our 3 trucks sitting under a flickering streetlight. That's when I heard my name, David, clear as day. A man's voice, coming from somewhere behind me, deeper in the building. I turned around, squinting into the dark. Yeah? Nothing. I waited, chewing slowly. Then I called out, "Marcus? That you?" Silence. I figured maybe he called up to me and I just missed the rest of what he said. Sounded weird things and that place bounced around. Got swallowed up by the emptiness. I went back to my sandwich. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Heading out for smokes. Tyler's coming. Want anything?" I stared at the screen. Then I typed back. "You're leaving right now?" "Yeah, man. Been gone like 5 minutes already. You good?" My throat went dry. I stood up slowly, every muscle in my body suddenly tense. I walked to the edge of the 2nd floor and looked down into the main space below. Empty. Completely empty. The work lights were still on, casting their harsh white glow across the concrete floor. Our tools were scattered around, but no people. No movement. "Marcus," I said into the phone. "How long ago did you leave?" Like I said, 5 minutes, maybe 10. We're almost at the gas station. Why? I didn't answer him. I just stood there, phone pressed to my ear, staring down into that massive empty room. Because I'd heard my name. I'd heard it clearly, and if Marcus and Tyler had been gone for 10 minutes, then whoever or whatever had called out to me was still in the building. I ended the call. For a long moment, I didn't move. I just listened. The building settled around me, all creaks and groans, the wind pushing 2 gaps in the walls. My pulse hammered in my ears. Then I saw it. Movement, far corner of the floor below, near the stairwell we'd been using all day. A shape, human-sized, standing completely still. My breath caught. I couldn't make out any details. The light didn't reach that far, but it was there. I could see the outline head, shoulders, arms hanging at its sides. "Hey!" My voice cracked. "This is private property. You need to leave." The shape didn't move. I pulled out my phone, turned on the flashlight, and aimed it toward the corner. The beam cut through the darkness, and for just a second less than a second, eyes saw it clearly. A man, pale, impossibly pale, wearing clothes that looked too old, too worn. His face was wrong. Not deformed, just wrong. Like someone had tried to draw a human face from memory and gotten all the proportions slightly off. And he was looking directly at me. Then he stepped sideways and vanished. Not into shadow, not behind a column. He just wasn't there anymore. I ran. I don't remember making the decision. My body just moved. I was down the stairs, across the floor, and out the side door before my brain even caught up. I stood in the parking lot, gasping, hands on my knees, staring back at the building. The work lights were still glowing inside. Everything looked normal, but I knew what I'd seen. When Marcus and Tyler got back, I told them I wasn't feeling well, said I needed to head home. They didn't argue. I think they could see it in my face. Whatever I was feeling, it was real enough to shut me up and send me running. I drove home in silence, didn't turn on the radio, didn't call anyone, just drove. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I'd almost convinced myself it was nothing. Exhaustion. Stress. Maybe some homeless guy had gotten into the building and I'd just startled him. I lived with my girlfriend back then, Sarah, in a small 2-bedroom house on the edge of town. She was working nights at the hospital, so the place was empty when I got in. I took a long shower, ate something, tried to decompress. I texted her that I was home safe. She sent back a heart emoji. Everything felt normal again. Around midnight, I went to bed. I remember lying there staring at the ceiling, replaying the whole thing in my mind. The voice, the figure, that face. Eventually, I closed my eyes. I don't know how long I was asleep before it started. I woke up, or thought I did, and the room was different. The color was gone. Everything was gray. The walls, the ceiling, the blankets, like someone had drained the world of warmth. And I couldn't move. I've never experienced anything like it. My body was locked. My arms, my legs, my neck, all of it frozen. I could move my eyes. I could breathe, but that was it. Panic hit me immediately. I tried to scream, but my jaw wouldn't open. I tried to thrash, to throw myself out of bed, but nothing responded. I was trapped inside my own body. That's when I felt it. A presence. Something in the room with me. I couldn't turn my head, but I could see the edges of the room, the doorway to the hallway, and from that doorway, something moved. It crawled. Not on hands and knees, it moved wrong. Its limbs bent at angles that didn't make sense, and it made no sound. It was shadow made solid, black against the gray, and it came toward the bed slowly, deliberately. I tried to scream again. Nothing. The thing reached the foot of the bed and stopped. Then it looked up, and I saw its face. It wasn't the man from the warehouse. This was something else. Something worse. Its face was light, not glowing burning, a white-hot intensity that seared itself into my vision. I couldn't look away. I couldn't close my eyes. And the light didn't spread. It didn't fill the room. It just stayed there, focused, concentrated, like staring into the heart of a furnace. I felt heat on my skin, felt my eyes watering, felt my mind breaking under the weight of what I was seeing. Then I heard the voice, right next to my ear, inches away. "David, help me, please." It was Sarah's voice, but she wasn't home. "David, please, help me. I can't breathe." She was sobbing, screaming, begging me to help her. Her voice was raw with terror, choked with pain. She sounded like she was dying, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. Tears ran down my face. I tried to speak, tried to move, tried to do anything, but I was locked in place while the thing at the foot of my bed grew larger, its burning face expanding, filling my vision. The voice kept screaming, "David, please, it hurts!" And then, silence. Complete silence. The thing stared at me for what felt like hours. Just stared. And in that burning face, I saw something. Images. Flashes. A young woman. Long, dark hair. Standing in the warehouse. Decades ago. When it was still a working mill. She was smiling. Then she was falling. Then she was screaming. Then there was blood on concrete and machinery still running. And no one heard her and no one came. And she died alone in that building. And her body was hidden and forgotten. And I gasped, jerking, upright in bed. The room was normal. Full color. No burning face. No presence. Just me, soaked in sweat, shaking so hard the bed rattled. I grabbed my phone. It was 3 a.m. I called Sarah. It rang. And rang. And rang. Voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. I told myself she was busy. It was a hospital. She couldn't always answer. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. At 6 a.m, my phone rang. It wasn't Sarah. It was her supervisor from the hospital. There had been an accident. Sarah had been found collapsed in one of the storage rooms around 2:45. Cardiac arrest. They tried to revive her for 30 minutes. She was gone. I remember dropping the phone. I remember the sound it made hitting the floor. I remember falling to my knees and not being able to breathe, and the world tilting sideways. The autopsy said it was an undiagnosed heart condition, a congenital defect. Could have happened any time. Nothing anyone could have done. But I knew what I'd heard in that room. I knew when it happened. 2:45 in the morning, right when I'd heard her screaming for help. Right when that thing showed me those images of the woman who died in the warehouse. I'd heard Sarah dying, and I couldn't move. I couldn't help her. I was frozen in my bed while she called out for me, and I did nothing. The sleep paralysis never came back after that night. The entity never returned. Maybe it got what it wanted. Maybe it was just showing me what was coming. Maybe it was trying to prepare me. Or maybe it was showing me that some people die alone, screaming for help that never comes. Just like that woman in the warehouse all those years ago. I quit contracting work 2 weeks after Sarah's funeral. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't go into empty buildings. Couldn't be alone in the dark. 6 months later, I saw the news article about the warehouse demolition being delayed. They'd found remains in the foundation. A woman. She'd been there for over 40 years. The case was cold. No suspects. No answers. Just another person who died screaming and nobody heard. I think about Sarah every day. I think about that night. I think about the burning face and what it showed me. And I wonder if she knew, in those final moments when her heart stopped and she fell in that empty storage room, did she call out for me? Did she wonder why I didn't come? I'll never know. But sometimes, late at night, when I'm lying in bed and the house is too quiet, I swear I can still hear her voice. "David, help me." And I can't. I never could.